Welcome back, Off the Bench. Hanging out with you here on this Friday. And what better way to start this Friday than talking a little football with one of the brand new members of this LSU coaching staff. Of course, we're talking about new linebackers coach Blake Baker. Coach Baker, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me on anytime.
Yeah, man. So, so we got to talk the other day at the Coaches Caravan a couple weeks back. And as many maybe do or do not know, you have so many Louisiana ties and love, and so this is like a bit of a homecoming for you and your family. How's the extended homecoming going? Are we out of the honeymoon period? Are you loving it? How are you settling in so far?
I feel like I'm still in the honeymoon period, man. It's every single day, every single week that we're bumping into old friends or and speaking from my wife's standpoint as well. You know, she was out at practice yesterday and she's talking to one of our support staff's wives, and they ended up playing youth basketball together. So
wow.
It's been really, really cool seeing familiar faces. Like I said, almost on a daily basis, bumping into somebody that I hadn't necessarily seen in years. So it's been a lot of fun.
And Coach, you have a wealth of defensive knowledge, been a coordinator all over in terms of college football, and now you're bringing that to bear on an LSU linebacker group. And if I'm just being, brutally honest, last year the linebacker group, I think more than any position group, really left a lot to be desired. It was very passive play. The fundamentals didn't really look to be there. How have you tried to kind of combat that? Like, how these early stages working with these guys last year who seemed to really struggle?
I think the biggest thing, and really I watched very little tape from last year. I wanted to kind of come in with my own opinions and form my own opinions as we get into this thing. And, from what I've seen so far, one thing we're always going to harp on, and especially here with Coach O, is fundamentals, being technique sound. I think they're doing a really, really nice job with that. And then, I kind of heard whispers, kind of the same thing, passive, not aggressive. So my challenge to those guys was do not be afraid to make a mistake. And, early on, I know we're I guess a third of the way through. I would not say that passive is a word that people will use to describe the LSU linebacker core next year. They've been downhill, filling gaps. I've been very impressed with their physical acumen as far as putting their face on somebody at the moment of truth.
And, Coach, everyone that gets in front of a microphone over the last couple of days has mentioned Bug Strong, the linebacker coming over from junior college in Mississippi. Obviously, like he's new here, but playing junior college, having that experience, how much does that help him be able to maybe play right away here at LSU?
Yeah, I think getting on the field and developing there at junior college, he has a great feel for the game. You can see that he's playing himself into shape, and he gets better and better every single day. And he's getting more comfortable within the scheme every single day. But he's he packs a powerful punch. He's explosive, really good 6-inch pop. But the most impressive thing to me is just his attitude. Comes in every single day. Teammates really, really, love him just because he's always got a smile on his face. He's yes, sir, no, sir. Comes to work, kind of a blue-collar mentality, and he's really fun to coach.
Coach, I want to go back to something because I've been on both sides of it, and it's a horrible feeling when you're on the other side, when you're on a really short leash. But you mentioned you don't want to be your player. You don't want your players to be afraid to make a mistake. Kind of expound on that a bit. Like, what do you mean by that? How does that help them out?
I hated when I played and, you make a mistake and the coach yanks you. You never get into a rhythm. Mistakes are going to happen. So, and especially we're learning a new defense. So, right now, I know some of the guys will get down on themselves early. I said, we'll get that corrected off of film. Now, if we come in and we continue to make the same mistakes after we've corrected on film, after we've walked through it, we've used the virtual room to walk through it, well, yeah, I'll start getting a little angry at that
Yeah.
point. But, some of these guys get frustrated, and it's our first day installing defense, and we're seeing new offensive plays, and you can't think like that, man. Just cut it loose. We'll correct it off film. And I think they're starting to warm up to that idea and understanding that it's okay But run and hit, man, that's my biggest challenge to them. I'm not going to coach effort. That's something that's between you and you, as the great Ray Lewis said, and I believe that. So you got to run to the ball as fast as you can and hit. And the other things that we can correct off the tape, but I'm not going to spend much time correcting that. You'll just sit next to me on the bench until you figure out how to run and hit.
There you go.
Hey, Coach, Damion Clark is another guy that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, he's a guy they thought a lot of. Wore number 18 last year, going to wear it again this year. Played really well in 2019, and kind of the same things we're talking about in 2020. That linebacker position, just it felt like they weren't put in the best position to succeed. So what has he kind of meant so far early on in spring practice?
I mean, to be honest with you all, he's meant everything, especially in the linebacker room. His leadership, his knowledge of the game. He's extremely smart. It's really, really important to him. I don't think anybody works harder off the field learning the game, in my room specifically, than Damion Clark. Really challenges the linebacker group every single day and takes ownership when he makes mistakes. So he's not just pointing fingers. He's been an outstanding leader. He's been extremely physical early on in spring camp, and he's invaluable to what we want to do, in my opinion, moving forward.
Talking to new LSU linebackers, Coach Blake Baker here on Off the Bench. And, Coach, so the media, when we get to go watch practice, generally the only thing that we get to watch is individual. And I've seen coaches approach individual differently over the years. Some seem to put more importance on it than others. How do you approach that portion of practice?
It's critical. There's some days there's some days we'll get after it an individual, and some days that it'll be more of a teaching mode. But fundamentals, to me, they can't be compromised, and that's something that you can always fall back on throughout the course of the game. Is just trusting your technique, trusting your fundamentals, and I tell them, don't get bored with the basics. We're going to do a lot of the same drills, especially me being new. We're going to do a lot of the same drills every single day. So now we can implement those, when we go to 9-on-7 or 7-on-7, and then hopefully they translate into team. But it's a lot of it, in my opinion, is muscle memory, man. You just got to continue to drill it, continue to drill it, continue to drill it, and then eventually it starts showing up, when it's 11-on-11 and everything's moving really fast, and now you got to tackle a ball carrier. So it's emphasized by Coach O. He does a phenomenal job emphasizing that to the staff, and it's something I truly believe in. So it's not an issue for me.
All right, Coach, obviously a lot of new coaches here on the LSU staff, a lot of young coaches on the staff, yourself included. And one of the things I love, one of the first pictures we got to see from spring practice was a big cat drill. And typically, like in years past, you see a big cat, and it's just like the strength coaches and Coach O in the picture. They show this picture, and like every assistant coordinator, everybody's in this picture yelling at their guys. Seems to be a real energy out there between all the coaches.
Yeah, I think, probably youth has to do with it, and then I think personality. I've been around young coaches that just, it's not in their personality to be super energetic, and I think Coach O did a phenomenal job when you look at, obviously, the youth that he brought in, but just the energy and the natural charisma of a lot of these guys on the staff, man. It's a fun staff to be around, and it's a competitive staff, so you kind of get the competitive juices. Sometimes there's a little more trash talking going on between the coaches more so than the players, but it's all in good fun, and it's a good thing. The players see that and feed off of that, and something I believe in is the players are going to follow your lead, and if you're showing great energy and great enthusiasm, they're going to do the same.
Coach, when you look at the linebacker position, it is one of the quickest evolving positions, or at least I think it is, when you look at football and just how it's kind of changed even over the past 10, 15 years. What's your view of that? Like, in your experience coaching, how has that position group continued to try to evolve?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It has definitely changed, and honestly, it's one of the hardest to recruit because the guys you really want to play at inside backer, most of the time at the high school level, they're playing defensive end because you want a long guy that's twitchy, that can run, that's explosive. And I get it. If I'm a high school coach and I've got a 6'2" kid that can do all those things, usually I'm putting him on the edge because you're not playing 6'6" offensive tackles every single snap. So it's kind of hard to evaluate, and it's really important to get them into camp to try to see if they got box speed and linebacker to me is such an instinctive position where it's hard to tell sometimes if guys are going to have those instincts based off of, maybe playing defensive end or maybe that outside hybrid backer to the field, at the high school level. But it's evolved, I think, when you look at how the game of football has evolved. I know there's very few 21 personnel, ISO, it's mostly spread you out, and that's from the NFL all the way to high school, where you really have to be able to move in space, but you got to be big enough to fill the A gap too. So it takes a unique individual, a unique skill set when you're trying to find that elite inside linebacker that can do both of those things. They don't just grow on trees, unfortunately. But I think the biggest thing that's changed is just the space. You got to have so much more speed and really length, especially even with the RPO game, something that people don't necessarily think about. But linebackers now, as they're filling a gap and they fill the RPO, maybe can get their hands up and tips become picks, and all those things matter, when it comes to evaluating the linebacker. But it has changed probably, in my opinion, probably that in tight end, where you used to see the big blocking tight end, where now you're looking at really big wide receivers. Those two positions have definitely changed as the game has changed over the last 10, 15 years.
New LSU Linebackers coach Blake Baker, welcome home, man. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I appreciate y'all having me on anytime. Go
All right,
Tigers.
Coach. You have a great day. Yes, sir. Go Tigers. All right, when we get back, wrapping up hour number 1, I want to get some of this player sound from yesterday here from Max Johnson, Ollie Gay, Damion Clark, T-Bob right here on Off the Bench.